You know, we all remember those shocking headlines back in 2018. The Turpin children, rescued from an absolute house of horrors. But their rescue? That wasn't the end of their story. Not even close. What happened after the cameras all went away reveals this second, hidden betrayal and a fight that would end up changing the very system that failed them.
And really, that's the question at the heart of this whole thing, isn't it? We assume a rescue is the end of the nightmare. But for the Turpin children, it was actually the beginning of a whole new one. And it forces us to ask some really tough questions about the systems that are supposed to protect the most vulnerable among us.
So, after years of silence, one single television event brought their story roaring back into the public eye. And this time, the siblings themselves, well, they were ready to speak.
This was the moment everything changed. In February of 2026, three of the youngest siblings, Julissa, Jolinda, and James, sat down for this major televised interview. And their goal, you see, wasn't just to talk about their parents' abuse. It was to finally reveal the hidden trauma that came after they were rescued.
I mean, this was a profound shift. For the very first time, this wasn't a story being told about them anymore. They were taking control of their own narrative, and what they had to say, it was absolutely staggering.
Their testimony revealed this just shocking betrayal. After being saved from one house of horrors, they were placed directly into another by the very system that was supposed to keep them safe. Let's just quickly remember the details from 2018, right? 13 kids rescued after 17-year-old Jordan's incredibly heroic escape. The entire world saw the horrific conditions, the parents were convicted, and it really felt like justice had been served. This was supposed to be their fresh start. But the reality was so starkly different. That 2018 rescue was followed by years of more abuse and neglect, this time from within the foster care system itself. I mean, the system didn't just have a few cracks. For these kids, it was completely shattered.
An official who was involved in the case later said the abuse in the system was, quote, so egregious it overshadowed the original abuse for some of the children. Just let that sink in for a minute. For some of these children, the place they were sent to be safe was worse than the home they were rescued from.
So this public revelation, this second failure, it was so profound it just couldn't be ignored. The county that had failed them was now forced to investigate itself, kicking off this massive effort to uncover the truth and finally hold the system accountable.
So Riverside County responded by hiring the law firm Larson to conduct a completely independent, top-to-bottom investigation. Their job was to figure out exactly how and why the system had failed these children so catastrophically.
And after 8 intense months of work, this was the result, a 634-page report. The sheer size of this document really speaks volumes about the depth of the systemic failures they found.
But this report wasn't just a document. It was an indictment. As its findings were being presented to county officials, it was like the entire social services system was being put on trial.
But look, a report is just paper. The real question is what kind of action it inspires. And this is where the story pivots from a tragedy of failure to this powerful example of real reform.
So on this key date, July 12, 2022, the heads of the investigation, Stephen Larson and Hillary Potishner, stood before the County Board of Supervisors. And they didn't just present their findings, they laid out a really clear roadmap for change.
And the board's response? It was immediate, and it was decisive. They voted to adopt every single one of Larson's recommendations, a 100% unanimous decision. This was the first concrete step toward actually fixing this broken system.
And the impact didn't just stop at the county line. It created this amazing domino effect. The investigation in this one county directly led to the governor of California signing a new bill into law for the entire state.
And what this new law does is it addresses a critical information gap. See, before, adult and child protective services couldn't easily share information with each other. Now they can. It's a simple change, but it's designed to prevent vulnerable families from falling through the exact same cracks that the Turpins did. This massive, statewide reform, it all started in one place. It began with the courage of the Turpin siblings, first to survive, and then to speak out.
It all comes back to their bravery. From Jordan's desperate escape in 2018 to her younger sibling's testimony 8 years later, these individual acts of courage forced an entire system to confront its failures and finally begin to change.
You know, the transformation here is just profound. Their story began as one of horrific victimization within a totally broken system, but through their courage, it became a story of advocacy and empowerment. They turned hidden trauma into a public voice
that literally forced the system to reform.
And so we end where we began, but this time with an answer instead of a question. The story of the Turpin siblings gives us a powerful, undeniable answer to this, that the courage to speak the truth, even after unspeakable trauma, can create a legacy of change for countless others.